Welcome, fellow light workers, star seeds, new earth angels, new earth architects, guardians of the organic ascension codes, those of us that are here to honor the path of union, organic evolution, the way of love, the return to love. You are so welcome here. We have quite an important message today to explore and unpack together. This is going to be a collective energy update / transmission based on what I'm sensing within the collective field. I will be posting a more individuated message for the soul's evolutionary journey in the next few days to support you during this time of transition. But for today, I'd like to share what I have been receiving over quite an extended period of time. This has almost been a picture that's been building for me individually and from what I've been receiving from the collective. And I'm starting to see the wider tapestry. Please bear in mind that I am but one vantage point and one node of collective consciousness, and I am attuned to a certain frequency bandwidth within collective consciousness. If the title resonated with you, then there's likely a message for you here because I've worded it deliberately based on the themes we're going to be exploring. And please allow yourself to check whatever I'm sharing with your soul, whether or not this is a truth that you resonate with, whether it's something that's helpful for you, whether this is a video that you need to listen to. Sometimes when we're on YouTube, it's easy to just sort of go from one video to the next, especially if we have creators that we enjoy listening to. But for where we are in our individual process, it's not always helpful to receive external messaging and stimulation. So please check in whether or not this is a message you need to receive at all, or whether you need to receive this now. This is going to be quite a big message. There's important information, just at a kind of very tangible level about what's happening on Earth with regards to seismic activity. And I'll try to address that sort of in the early half of the video and try to timestamp this. So before we move forwards, I'd like to just remind you that if you're watching this in real time, we have our first live ascension call within the Integrated Awakening Collective, which is our Patreon community, on Thursday the 13th of March, which is actually the date of the eclipse. So we're going to be doing a lot of soul retrieval work there. We're going to be doing a lot of timeline clearing in that. I'm already starting to get some guidance on that. It's going to be a real kind of reclamation of sovereignty. That's what I'm feeling based on everything that's coming through. All calls will be recorded and shared within that portal. So if you want to join me, that's the New Earth Architect tier and above. You're very, very welcome to join me in that portal. It's £33 a month. We have 2 calls per month, plus lots of bonus content coming your way, video and written activations that I'll be sharing on Patreon. So that's a reminder if you do wish to join me live on that call. And there was one other announcement. Oh yes, there's 11% off my course, my foundations course, the 5 pillars of self-love. And I've applied this discount for the Venus retrograde period until April 11th. So you can get this course, which is usually £99, for £88. You can also pay in installments. This is a foundational fundamental course for me, anyone that is dedicated to integrated awakening, which means really being embodied and connecting to your humanity and your human needs and your human system and ecosystem, as well as your divinity, so you can really move through your awakening process in a way that's integrated, in a way that is establishing the full channel of Sushumna, the central nadi, not just the upper centers, but we're grounding into the lower centers too. Really important work within that course. So the links that you need are in the description box below for that. So let's dive into our message today. Before we get started, I'm going to invite us to just tune into the heart space together. So I'm going to invite you to close your eyes or lower the gaze. Allow your head to gently bow towards the heart space. Let's just take a few conscious breaths together. Breathing nice and deep on that inhale, and as you exhale, just allowing yourself to settle in the seat of the heart. Exhaling to soften and beginning to open to the light of your soul, emerging through the heart center, emerging through the heart cave, the God seat, the center. See, sense, feel, or imagine this beautiful luminescent light beginning to burgeon and awaken within you, beyond your physical form, beyond your mind, beyond your idea of yourself. This light resides within you. The truest emanation of your being, who you truly are, cannot be captured or contained within the bounds of physical reality. May you tune in and focus on this light. Let this light guide you, lead you. Just taking a few moments to tune into this light. Allow yourself to be reconfigured in connection to this light. Allow what is important to begin to truly emerge as you connect to this light. And setting an intention for today's video and moving forwards, that you allow yourself to receive and discern what is most valuable for you and true for you at a soul level, honoring your unique sovereignty, your unique soul's path, your dharmic path, your karmic process, and allowing every external reflection that you receive to simply be a mirror for you to gauge what is your ultimate sovereign truth. Beautiful. And then just gently allowing yourself to once again tune into both this light and the physical body, the physical avatar, the sensory nature attached to this human vehicle, sounds, sensations, smells, light and dark beneath closed eyes, beginning to attune once again to physical reality, keeping a focus on this light, staying connected to this light, holding a dual awareness of both physical reality and non-physical reality. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Welcome. So let's start with the message that I've been hearing over and over and over again. Humanity is about to be shaken awake. Humanity is about to be shaken awake. The magnitude of this message is, it can feel a little bit ominous. And I will be honest that in sharing today's message, it is not to instill fear, it's not to arouse a sense of alarm. It's just for us to get really honest and clear about the magnitude of evolution, or the evolutionary process that we're moving through and that we're living through right now. That this is not an easy time to be incarnated on Earth. This is a great juncture in humanity and Earth's evolutionary process, a great juncture. I've been hearing also that we're at a time of sort of a great cosmic reset. Astrologically, this is being reflected with so many planets in Pisces, which is the final sign of the zodiac chart before we are reborn again into Aries. So we are truly monumental, pivotal times on Earth. We are at a time of great change. We know this. This message of humanity is being shaken awake. There are quite a few strands to this, which I'm going to move through in our video today. I'm going to start with the context about a sort of prophetic vision I received maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. I may have spoken about this in other videos, but I'll repeat it here. When COVID happened in 2020, or the emergence of COVID, I received a message when I was traveling in India in late 2019 about a collective event or something happening that was about to happen, incoming, inbound. And the way I received this message was a giant storm brewing, and I was sort of shown an ocean, and this storm was brewing over the ocean, and it was building and it was moving closer and closer and closer to the shore. Now, when I receive messages for the collective, they tend to be less specific in terms of like locations and specific people. They tend to be almost kind of shown to me through the elements and through kind of visual representations. So what I took from this, that there was a great storm coming, there was something that was really going to be disruptive. That was the energy behind it. Something disruptive is coming, like a storm. Initially, I wasn't sure if it was to do with my personal life because there was a lot going on, but the message was clear. No, this is bigger. It's going to affect many people. And I was also told that at the time, my ex-partner and I were going to try to move to Bristol, and I was told that this would disrupt our move to Bristol, and it did indeed. So I received a similar wave of prophetic visioning about 2.5 years ago, well, sorry, 1.5 to 2 years ago. And what I was being shown was that the next collective event that's going to really sort of disturb life on earth as we know it, unsettle us, and sort of shake us out of our conditioned norms in big ways, was not going to come through the air as it was shown to me in that previous vision, but this was going to come through the earth. And I was shown the earth at a deep, deep, deep level shaking, and this sort of vibratory quality building within the earth. And it was kind of reflecting and sort of mirroring my own process with the Kundalini, where I was experiencing and have been experiencing a lot of vibrating at the root, almost at times like a chainsaw. It's like so much electricity and movement, activity at the root, like this massive force is about to awaken. That was what I was feeling and sensing happening within the earth. And as someone that is a channel and tunes into the earth, whenever I sit with the earth, I feel her rumbling. I feel the inner earth, and I feel the activity beneath the earth's surface, and it is really quite changeable underneath the surface. There's a lot happening at a deep level, at a tectonic level. And so we are now seeing this being reflected, this sort of deep upheaval of the sort of tectonic makeup of the Earth's kind of land formations and oceanic formations. A big shakeup is occurring. We're starting to see unusual activity across many sites around the world. Most importantly, and this is particularly important if you live in these regions, I find it, again, not surprising, but just really disgusting that this isn't getting more airtime in mainstream media. So we are aware that there's some unusual seismic activity happening in Santorini and around the islands surrounding Santorini in Greece. There have been evacuations there, earthquake activity there. We are also seeing very highly unusual seismic activity around Campi Flegrei, I believe that's how you pronounce it, in Italy, southern Italy, which is the super volcano next to Vesuvius. Again, this should be like global news given the scale of both Campi Flegrei and Vesuvius. But seemingly this is something that they don't want to raise an alarm about, or perhaps raise, I don't know, give people foresight into. So if you're watching this and you're in these areas, please just, You know, there are geologists speaking about this on YouTube. There are, I think, international Indian outlets speaking about this more than European outlets. That's how crazy times are on Earth right now. So the last thing that came up a few days ago, as I was kind of, reading into what's happening at a kind of geological level in these areas, I saw a recommended video, and it was an oarfish in Mexico, a deep sea oarfish, which is this kind of luminescent, very kind of slippery, snake-like fish, which is a deep sea fish, and it's, this is deep sea marine life, and it had surfaced on a beach in Mexico. And having looked into this a little bit, this is in Japan considered a bad omen. This is considered a sign that something is incoming or impending. There is some kind of potential disaster or something that is going to cause a lot of disruption, because these are deep sea animals, and the fact that they're surfacing, nature always gives us clues. And this was in Mexico. And I've then heard that there have also been minor earthquakes in Portugal, Morocco. So we are starting to feel and sense and see seismic activity and changes on Earth. Now, this is multi-layered. We know we're living during the end of a dying epoch, and we are about to enter into a very different time and age on Earth. The shift that's happening on Earth is not just isolated to Earth. This is a galactic shift that's happening, and the Earth's role is quite important. Much of the galactic community are very invested in and intrigued by what is going to unfold on Earth and the timelines that we choose for ourselves on Earth. We know, and I've got to be really careful, I've been inwardly told to be very mindful of the words I use and how much I share on public forums now. We are aware that there has been a gross power imbalance and misuse of energy and power on Earth by seen and unseen forces, those with an agenda, those with a loyalty to the devolution template and the devolution timelines to keep humanity locked into the false god AI grid network. I've spoken about this in other videos, maybe 2 years ago. We are aware that there is, this interplay of power struggle, power imbalance, a fight for humanity's soul and the sovereignty of our souls and our beings on Earth. At the micro level, we can feel for us at a soul level that this is a very important time to be incarnated, that we are, most of us going through this evolutionary process at a conscious level, we are aware of the level of alchemy that we are undergoing. We are aware of the amount of transmutation that's happening, the amount of programming that we're shedding and dissolving, the amount of constructs and constraints that we are elevating ourselves out of. We are aware of the paradigms that we are dissolving and crumbling and collapsing within our own kind of false architecture, false ideas we've been living under, as well as those we've inherited, conditioning that we've absorbed, those that have been passed down through the ancestral lines, those that have been encoded through kind of mass population programming. There has been so much infiltration and so much distortion that has kept humanity deeply, deeply asleep, deeply unaware of its true potential and its true nature. So this shake-up that is happening already, and the magnitude of the shake-up that I feel is coming, is proportionate to the degree to which we have been asleep, the degree to which we have denied our divinity, we have denied the divine, denied unconditional love, denied our highest potential, the shake-up that's incoming is proportionate to that level of unconsciousness. So we're aware the global landscape is delicate. These are highly tumultuous times. It's very important to remember that at an energetic frequency vibration level, we are always informing and contributing to the unified field with every thought, with everything we identify with every emanation from our being, every embodiment, every choice we make, every action we take. So it's very important during these tumultuous times where we don't quite know which timeline is going to materialize, that we do our absolute utmost to remember the light within us, to honor the purity, the sovereignty, the majesty of that light, and not buy into fear-based stories, fear-based content that contracts us and has us operating from very disempowering programming that then feeds into the collective consciousness. As light workers, as New Earth architects, that is one of our roles and responsibilities. Those with awareness must lead the way. We must model the way. And we model the way by embodying differently, by choosing to exalt ourselves out of these fear-based programs, these fear-based conditionings, the bondage of karmic content and themes that we've been cycling in, to finally see all of the places that we have outsourced our power, all of the ways in which we have sought a validation, approval, the meeting of our needs outside of ourselves, where we have sought communion with the divine through, seeking a partner hungrily, seeking money hungrily. May we remember what we're truly seeking, which is communion with the divine within ourselves, within our own hearts. So we have a responsibility. This is not to diminish our the emotional waves that are moving through us, because there's huge purification happening right now. You may be moving through and fluctuating in emotional states that are very, very polarized, very contrasting, very confusing. This is huge purification. If we're using the imagery of an ocean, this is like, the seabed, dust and dirt and debris from the seabed being kicked up right to the surface. That's what happens actually during a lot of seismic activity. Very deep content starts to emerge, right? So this is why this time of deep excavation is also sort of being reflected in this seismic activity, because we are being awakened to that which has been subconscious, hidden from view, also very Piscean. It's not lost on me, and I'm sure many of you, that we are also experiencing all of this shaking up of the depths, of the content of the depths at this critical time when there are so many planets in Pisces around the eclipse season. It's just cosmically, it's a monumental time. It's reflecting monumental changes and shifts on Earth. So, just a little side note about our responsibility to be really mindful, allow ourselves to feel what's coming up, but sort of to be the empty vessel, the empty flute, the empty channel through which this energy moves through. It doesn't get stuck to the side with identification, with, attaching a story to what we're feeling. You don't need to intellectually understand what you're processing at this point. Just let the energy move, animate it, express it, move it, give it back to the earth. Keep moving the energy. Allow that which has been stagnant to finally release, to transmute. And allow your masculine, your divine masculine aspect to hold presence, awareness, provide spacious holding for you, and we experience this through presence, not through an active, agitated mind, that's judging all the time. The I am is awareness, it's presence, it's a penetrative presence, a containment that holds the content of Shakti, of dynamism, of life, of expression, without judgment. This is a time to really start expanding our connection to the I am, our connection to our mental, our higher, most exalted mental faculties, to be present, to be aware, to observe without judgment. Because we're going to need to be able to hold the content of Shakti, both within ourselves and what the earth and collective is showing us, with neutrality, so that we do not feed these cycles of fear and judgment that have kept us very, very severed and disconnected from the truth. So, seismic activity. Humanity is being shaken awake. Let's talk about the dragon energy. Oh, I can feel the energy coming through. I'm just going to bring through a little bit of light language with regards to this dragon energy. Just allow yourself to receive that which is in your highest and best good. Keeping the focus in the solar plexus between the rib cage. This is a solar plexus activation. Huruk as alchlemara kes sahlil marra kes urmukurmukura elechmara durb kes saharag irma kalchlemara durmujor mukurmukurmukura irmach satar mash nurmukus eshenechmar mesundurmora dir isalamar makasana. And now bringing the awareness all the way down from the solar plexus through the sacral, all the way down into the root, and allowing this energy, seeing roots descending from the root chakra, from the perineum, allowing this energy to descend and ground into the earth. Connecting to the strength, the power of the earth, and to your dragon aspect, to your dragon, primordial dragon energy. Just take a nice deep breath in. As you exhale, just really grounding this energy down through the solar plexus, sacral root, and into the earth. Allowing any content within the lower centers that doesn't serve your highest and best good to be emptied out, purified out. One more breath. Inhale, collecting all of the energies that don't serve you. Exhale, breathing them down and out through the centers, all the way down into the earth. Asking them to be recycled for the best and highest good of all. Okay, I wasn't expecting to bring through some light language today. Okay, so dragon energy. So many people have felt, sensed, tuned into the awakening of dragon energy on the planet in recent years. I know a number of individuals within my field that have been working very closely with dragon energy for a long time. I have been tuning into dragon energy very lightly for about 2 years. It's sort of come into my field in little sort of little pockets, different sort of frequencies of dragon energy. You know, there are many different types of dragon energy. When we're speaking about dragon energy, within this context, we're speaking about the primordial dragon energy, the guardians and the keepers of the ancient ways, the organic ancient ways. These are benevolent elemental beings, guardians of the sacred, guardians of the Grail codes, guardians of the Union codes. These are keepers, defenders, protectors of the Earth's organic grids. So as I said, I've been sort of tuning in sort of very sort of small ways on my own journey into dragon energy. And then about, when was it? 2 or 3 weeks before filming this video, I experienced a very profound dragon awakening in my solar plexus. So there are different frequency and iterations, expressions and iterations of dragon energy. There are water dragons, air dragons, earth dragons, fire dragons. They are stewards of different healing modalities. They can be working with different flame colors and frequency bandwidths to support you with different processes. It could be healing, it can be transmutation, it can be power retrieval. If you're connecting to dragon energy, you may be seeing dragons in your third eye. You may be sort of just sensing dragon energy. You may be called to connect with books, TV shows, places, content that contains dragons. You may be connecting a lot with the fire element, or you may be going through a profound period of sort of power, retrieval, sovereignty, establishment. This is also very connected to the dragon energy. Also very connected to grid work. So if you're a grid worker and you're working a lot with the earth, you may start to sense or feel into or even see dragons. Or dragon energy, because they're often masked and cloaked at a material level, dotted around the earth and in natural spaces. So I went through this profound dragon awakening, and I want to just speak about this process a little bit because it's important to map what this sort of really guardian dragon energy and this aspect of our soul, this aspect of our consciousness, what it does for us in terms of our wholeness and our return to sovereignty. So I mentioned before that I'd gone to a myofascial release session a couple of weeks ago. I released a lot of trauma, including experiences that happened to me very young as a child that I can't mentally connect to because I've blocked a lot of content out of my third eye. I've still got a lot of energy of not wanting to see what I've experienced, either in this life or in other lives, fully. I only see fragments. But my body was communicating to me and releasing what happened to me. And there was some really, really horrible content that came up. Content that I've been aware of for some time, and that I've been feeling a tremendous amount of rage about at a subconscious level, but not knowing at a kind of cognitive and memory-based level why I was carrying so much anger and rage. So I had this release, this myofascial release, and then in the days that followed after connecting to this energy, moving some of this trauma through my system, I started to really connect with a tremendous amount of anger and rage. And this has been building within my system for a long time. Anger at my father, anger at other perpetrators in my experience, anger at my ex-partner for the way our connection ended, and the sense of feeling very dishonored at a soul heart level. And then that fed into my residual anger and the anger of my lineage at the masculine in general. So it's a lot of like union template healing between the divine masculine and the divine feminine. A lot of residual anger around abandonment, betrayal, persecution, objectification of the feminine. A lot of residual anger being cleared out. So this anger started to arise in me. And it was the first time in my life where I truly was able to meet my anger, not as the one identified with the anger, the one that is angry, but actually I was able to meet my anger with presence, to be with the power of anger and rage without identifying with it or creating kind of a constraining story around it and what it means for me at an identity or personality structure level. I was just able to hold it within my field, to move it, to allow it to be there, to allow it to take up space. And what happened when I was able to do this was that I started to understand truly how anger and rage is our lifeline and our thread to our power. I speak about this in the 5 Pillars of Self-Love course in a bit more detail, but anger and rage, which has been so shamed and diminished on the planet, is an essential emotional response. It's one that wills us to take action, to change something, to set boundaries. It is a yang energy. It's a directive energy. It wants us to move. It alerts us when something has been violated, a boundary has been violated, when we felt dishonored in some way, when something around our innocence or our field that is precious to us has in some way been dishonored. So anger has a very sacred role, a very sacred role. We don't want to live from anger. We don't want to live constantly brewing with anger, but we do want to acknowledge anger, ask it what it's telling us, ask it what it's showing us, asking us where we have felt disempowered, where we've been outsourcing our power, where we felt others have had power over us, where we have felt violated, where we feel our boundaries have been crossed, where we have felt we're being dishonored, to really acknowledge these things with awareness, not to get caught in the story around that, but to acknowledge these things. Okay, I see this boundary has been crossed. Now I'm going to take the action to ensure that doesn't happen again. I'm going to set a firmer boundary. I'm going to remove this person from my life. I'm going to speak my truth and express how this has made me feel. It's just one example. Okay, but there's a very key moment in the transmutation process of anger where we are connecting to the fire and the power of the solar plexus. So anger really resides generally within the solar plexus. It's very linked to the liver and to the gallbladder process, but it's very, very connected to the solar plexus and the fire of the solar plexus, the fire element, and the kind of the sort of solar energy of the fire of the solar plexus. So this is actually a really important part of the return to sovereignty and the reclamation of key soul aspects. Most people, especially on a spiritual journey, want to bypass their anger and their rage because it's really uncomfortable to sit with. It's really uncomfortable to meet our anger in a society that shames it, in familial systems that shame it and diminish it. There's no outlet for our anger. There's no space where our anger is seen as sacred. It's seen as something taboo and to be shamed. But when we flip the script and we see that anger is sacred and we really see it for what it is, that nothing that emerges from this body landscape is wrong, that it's all information, we understand that anger is asking us to reclaim our power. Where have I given my power away? Where am I outsourcing it? It's time to call those fragments back, to restore the fire within me, restore the sacred power within me. So as I was connecting to this power, and at this time I was also being called to watch The House of the Dragon, which is like the Game of Thrones spin-off. I mean, it was terrible in terms of the acting and I don't know, it didn't engage me at all. I was only interested in watching the scenes with the dragons because there was this huge dragon awakening happening within me as I was connecting to this power. This key kind of primordial soul aspect within me, this guardian dragon of my solar plexus, was waking up. And I started, as I was sat with this emerging fire, this emerging power that was sort of like, that was rising from the transmutation of my anger, I started to connect to this expansive state of I am powerful, which is a state most of us have been severed from, especially as light workers and empaths, starseeds, highly sensitives. We tend to have severed ourselves from the lower centers quite dramatically, and we tend to really fear going into the lower centers and particularly connecting with our power. Now, I saw one of the key reasons why during this process, as I was connecting to this burgeoning sense of power in my solar plexus and this burgeoning dragon energy, the reclamation of this dragon energy, this fierce warrior-like energy within me, and this fierce multidimensional aspect, because the dragon energy is elemental, it's multidimensional, I was being reconnected to my magic, to the aspect of my soul that remembers magic, that remembers alchemy, that remembers spell work, that remembers what it's like to be the magi, the witch, to really mold and shape creation according to my will. And I started to touch on how this can very easily lead to the misuse of magic and power, and there can be all sorts of distortions that come from the connection to our power. So part of the reason we fear reclaiming our power is because we fear misusing it. And I actually, again, from quite an objective level, was witnessing how there was this part of me remembering, oh yes, I am powerful. Wow, I'm so powerful. I remember how to cast spells. I remember how to manipulate reality to my will. I remember how to make people that have hurt me suffer. Like, there was almost this sort of these other aspects that were being reclaimed at a soul level from other timelines and incarnations that were connected to power, and we're not using it in a way that was service to all, but was service to self. And I saw very clearly that the reason I hadn't reclaimed this aspect earlier was because God wanted me very firmly established in the heart center before I reclaimed this level of power, because otherwise there is a large, very large or high chance that that power will be misused. Not intentionally, it may be an unconscious or a subconscious pattern, theme that we just start working within again. You know, that it feels good to have power. And then, oh, you know what, that person hurt me. It would feel good to have power over them. It would feel good to start, you know, getting what I want and sort of almost claiming a sense of I am, the false God sense, you know, which is severed from the great mystery, severed from true divine will, severed from the gnosis of the wider web of life and the wider power that's at work when we connect it to the heart and above. The heart really is the tempering force for the lower centers. And so I see this a lot in the spiritual community, and I'm sure many of us have seen this, that very powerful spiritual individuals have huge ego structures, and they have ego structures that are self-serving, and they misuse their power. This is, you know, see this all the time in the yogic community. Very prominent gurus who have been really misusing their power and abusing students, abusing followers, who are spiritually very powerful, siddhis activated. You know, they seem to have elements of their being that are masterful, truly masterful, and yet other aspects that have not been refined, that have not alchemized the shadow and are enacting from those unconscious shadow aspects that is service to self. So I kind of moved through this almost like initiatory experience where anger was triggered, and then it was almost like my anger was triggered at the masculine collective and all of the misuse of power that the masculine has exercised over the feminine consciousness within myself and within society. And then I started to sort of transmute that anger into power, and then I was like, and then it was almost like my inner feminine was like, oh, I remember myself as, you know, the witch, the one that can use my understanding of the non-physical to have power over those engrossed in material reality, especially men. And just, it was like, I wasn't identified with this. I was just observing it with a lot of curiosity and seeing how, if I did not have the levels of awareness I have now and this connection to the heart center that's so firmly established, I could really easily have fallen into an improper use of my power. So it was almost like a gate to pass through. And then this sort of just dragon power was emerging of like protection, sovereignty. It wasn't power over someone else. When the dragon energy really anchors, it's not power over someone else. It's not using this level of power because I want to feel powerful at an individual level. It's just the remembrance of I am, the I am, right? The remembrance, I am powerful. That each individual in their truest, most exalted form is powerful beyond measure, and reclaiming that knowing, because most of us are operating from very sort of wounded, disempowered templating, giving power away, leaking energy out, blah, blah, blah. So part of the reclamation at a soul level is actually calling our power back. And then using that level of power in service to the heart and in service to divine will, and not just service to self, because when we start enacting these service to self cycles, we just feed the karmic timelines. We do not evolve at a soul level. We do not actualize our highest potential. It's another cul-de-sac to get lost in. A lot of people do this, unfortunately. It takes a lot of, I'm seeing now that the path of self-mastery, it takes so much honesty, diligence, accountability, so many places along this path where we can get lost in cul-de-sacs and wander off the path of integrity. Very easy if we're not holding high levels of awareness. We've got to constantly keep checking ourselves and constantly be willing to be to receive people's feedback of us and their reflections of us. Constantly doing the shadow work and the alchemy work if we want to be truly masterful with our energy in a way that is in integrity and in service to the all. So, big side tangent there, but that was sort of my alchemical journey, reclaiming this powerful dragon aspect within myself. And I felt then that more of my central channel was being established in a way that was more coherent. There had been this kind of what's the word I'm looking for? My solar plexus and the lower centers had been lacking some substance. There had still been too much focus on just the higher centers and above. There was an ungroundedness and there was a lacking of substance in the solar plexus. A lot of depleted fire energy here. Reclaiming this has restored some of this fire energy in a way that I have never felt before in this life. So it feels like really important work to call back these dragon aspects. Now, in the wider collective sense, these dragon aspects and this dragon energy is re-emerging because we are in times where the sacred and the organic ways, the organic ascension coding and templating on the planet is at risk. It's being demolished and degraded by alternative agendas that want to encourage humanity into a very disempowered timeline, as I've been speaking about. So this dragon energy is arising within us and with the earth, and of course this is reflected within the seismic activity and the fire of volcanic activity, because there is a huge shake-up of the power structures needed on this planet, and that's kind of one of the final elements of this. The dragon energy returning and re-emerging in collective consciousness is an indication that power structures are being massively reorientated and reorganized at this point on Earth. That these primordial guardian beings returning to collective consciousness, I feel emotional even speaking about it, that their return signals that we are at such a pivotal time in our collective reclamation process, the collective reclamation process of our sovereignty, that humanity has been severed from the truth for so long that we are starving and we are parched of the sacred and of our remembrance of who we truly are and what this kingdom of heaven, Garden of Eden, home of ours should be. And it has been robbed of us. And we have been locked into these lower parasitic timelines and templates of codependency, karmic cycling and fear and bondage, and a sense that we are outside of the embrace of love. Constantly forgetting, constantly veiled from our spiritual gift and our connection to the divine, constantly veiled from this sense that we do not need gatekeepers to access the divine, to access and commune with God, that the connection can be established right here. That's our birthright. All of this has been inverted, especially by the monotheistic Abrahamic religions, inverted and weaponized for the opposing forces that want humanity to believe that there is a separation between us and the divine, that there is a severing, that humanity has fallen from God's grace, that somehow being in this human form is a curse or a punishment, and that we are to exalt ourselves out of it, and that we can only be redeemed when we leave these bodies, and that everything we do in these human bodies is really just sinful. Just I feel the dragon power energy emerging as I speak on this. The sheer audacity and the righteousness of these religions to take our connection to God and to monopolize and to weaponize that connection to serve their own inverted agendas and the forces that they're serving, which are non-physical forces. I'm not going to go into that. But let's just say that there are forces that benefit greatly from us at an energetic level, at a frequency level, benefit from us as a feeding source, being locked into these lower karmic fear-based templates and cycles. And these beings have no mercy. They are severed from the light of the divine. And now the big guns are coming out. Now the dragons are rising. Now our galactic communities are going to make themselves known on Earth. They're already making themselves known through us. Many of us are having galactic and interdimensional contact at this time. The wool, is that for saying the wool has been pulled over our eyes? We have been living veiled, in a veiled, slumbering state for too long. And now we are about to be shaken awake because it's needed, because so many people are still sleeping. They are sleepwalking their souls into imprisonment and sacrificing their sovereignty, not realizing how precious their inner being is, not realizing how precious their soul is, not realizing how precious their innocence is. Enough. Most people are not choosing this. They've been conditioned to believe that this is normal. So we must have compassion. This is what conditioning and programming it does. It distorts our capacity to see and access truth. If you're on the awakening path, you know how many layers there are to decondition from. This is not easy. So have grace and compassion for your fellow brothers and sisters that are still asleep. The veils and the firmaments of distortion that are placed on and around humanity, there are many of them. Those of us that are doing this deep work, we are slowly starting to puncture through these firmaments and return to the organic, solar, Christed, Sophianic energies and remembrance. We're getting there. Many of us starting to puncture through now and come to these levels of remembrance. And the more we puncture through and we break through these firmaments and domes of delusion, the glass ceilings start to shatter, and more of humanity can access the true light of God's love, the true light of the divine. I actually want to mention at this point that the monotheistic Abrahamic religions, I'm going to speak about Christianity because that's obviously my closest reference point. I was raised Catholic, and being born in the UK, that's the kind of closest reference point I have culturally. The monotheistic religions and the Abrahamic religious streams are actually some of the most clever firmaments of entrapment. They are, the way I was shown it was, a firmament is a glass dome, and there are many glass domes of illusion and distortion and programming built up so that humanity doesn't rise and ascend to meet God, the solar, Christed emanation of truth, okay? And you could say that the religious Abrahamic streams are close enough to the light of God, where you receive the grace through that stream, that you receive the grace of God through those teachings and that system, where you feel you're aligned with truth. But because there's a dome still, there's a glass ceiling, you can't move beyond the ideology, right? You can't move beyond the doctrine. You can't become sovereign and self-masterful. That's sinful. That's blasphemy, right? It means that it keeps people actually far enough away from becoming the creators they came here to be and the masters that they came here to be, to walk in Jesus's footsteps. He was a teacher and a guide and a model for us of what's possible alchemically So I actually see that the monotheistic Abrahamic religious streams are some of the most dangerous firmaments of illusion and containment for spiritual evolution and soul evolution. And they are entrapping many people at this time. Many people are starting to flee to, various religious streams, the main three religious streams, either Judaism, Islam, or Christianity of some denomination. People's souls feel the times we're in, that things are being shaken awake, and they want safe passage, and they want safe harbor, somewhere that's known and safe. They can rest in the bosom of the prophet or the Messiah. And again, it's close enough to God where you feel the light of God's grace. It's far enough away where you never reclaim your sovereignty, where you do not realize and recognize that these beings were only ever pointing to the truth that we are all capable of ascending. We are all capable, and when I say ascending, I mean exalting our consciousness and coming into union with God directly ourselves. This is not a process that's easy. It takes many, many, many lifetimes. In fact, the way that Christianity in this time teaches Yeshua's path is an insult to the level of work he would have undergone to become an empty vessel for God consciousness. It's an insult. And to those around him, to his companion, Mary Magdalene, to his mother, to Mother Mary, to these highly evolved individuals who were holding such important codes for humanity, the work that they would have had to have gone through to be that level of, or to hold that level of consciousness within their being. It's defamation what the Christian church has done. And that's just the bare minimum. I could speak so much about this because since being on this land, there's a fire in me. There is a fire in me, I'm telling you. The goddess is not happy with what's happening here in France and in the UK, but certainly not here in France. She's like, you will see me, and you will not deny me and diminish me anymore. Anyway, so we've got this dragon energy arising. These forces are arising to counteract the other seen and unseen forces that want to keep humanity locked into devolution timelines. We are going to see, I believe, again, this is just one potential timeline, but I believe now that it's being reflected in the earth at such a level where we can't ignore it as a potential timeline anymore. It feels as though it's coming into material reality. It feels like we're going to see some very, very significant seismic activity on the planet. Do I want to mention this? Is it helpful? Okay, no, I heard no. I don't want to sort of be explicit about the degrees to which this may happen. All I'm going to say is there are going to be big shake-ups on planet Earth at the level of geography, right? At the level of geology. Big shifts about the land and the oceans, big shifts about sort of our tangible experience of life on Earth, okay? And that was the final part. It was that sort of shaking up of the power structures. Okay, so the thing is, these opposing forces that want to undermine humanity's evolutionary process and that want to keep humanity enslaved in terms of their consciousness, in terms of what's happening on Earth, our consciousness on Earth, these beings believe that they are outside of divine orchestration. These beings are so arrogant and they are so severed from the truth that they believe that they are outside of universal law and outside of God's will. Well, the thing is, you can try and set as many kind of control systems in place at an earthly level, right, to oppress humanity. This might come in the form of 15-minute cities and digital IDs and our banking accounts and our financial systems being centralized in a way that is going to potentially really disrupt how individual people access their financial resources and their money. Lots of potential changes that will not be beneficial for the individuals on the ground. These forces can try and implement all of these things, but nothing and no one is outside of God's will. The earth, as I understand it and receive it, is going through her own Kundalini awakening process as the solar activity of our solar system sun, our solar system sun is going through this sort of metamorphosis process, and there's a lot of light information being shared through solar flare activity from our sun. It's almost like a macrocosm of the I am sending the impulse to the Kundalini to rise. Okay, the I am being Shiva, the Kundalini being Shakti. When the I am in a top-down Kundalini awakening sends the impulse to Shakti to rise, the impulse is sent all the way down through the central channel. Bang! Kundalini Shakti starts to wake up. It's time to wake up, honey. It's time to come back into the holy marriage, into the embrace of union. It's time to remember. This is also, I believe, being mirrored at a macro level with our sun and our earth, that the light code and information that's being emitted by the sun is awakening the earth and moving her through her own Kundalini awakening or her own Kundalini ascension process. Another layer of that. She would have been going through this before, but another layer of her own Kundalini awakening process. And so we know that with the Kundalini awakening process, any false structures, any energetic structures that don't serve true awakening are dissolved. And it can often feel like there's no foundation to stand on. When you're going through a very intense spiritual awakening, it's like the ground beneath you falls away. And what you thought was stable and secure and safe within your limited constructs and paradigms, gone, bottomed out. And all of a sudden, you are, suspended within the void. You're plunged into dark night of the soul territory, because your known structures and your known firmaments, right, are shattered. And what you thought was true collapses. So where do you orientate yourself when the foundation beneath you falls away and everything that you thought was true dissolves? It's a complete reorientation of the consciousness. It's a complete reconfiguration and expansion of the consciousness. This is what's happening at this time on Earth. That the foundations of our experience on Earth are about to be shaken in fundamental ways, because they need to be. Because the level of energetic oppression and the entrenchment of illusion that's present here on Earth is not just affecting us, it's affecting our Earth. It's affecting our galactic community and our place within the wider cosmic tapestry. Everything is interwoven. Our place within the cosmos is felt. The destructive ways in which we are moving through and the kind of destructive programming that we're engaged with at a collective level on Earth, this is felt at a vibratory level across the cosmos. This is we're not just isolated and alone. There are many beings in many different realms, in many different planes, that are feeling, sensing and being impacted by the level of consciousness on Earth. And evolution is taking place. This is God's will. Evolution is inevitable. And we are at a juncture point now where this evolutionary process is about to get really loud here on Earth. So that means that these power structures, these well-established power structures, this could be government, financial, medical, military, educational, these kind of really well-established kind of almost like dinosaur-like structures, they're archaic, they're founded on fear-based conditioning, they're self-serving, they're parasitic, a lot of them. There may be good people embedded within these systems, but the systems themselves are compromised. They're not serving the highest and best good. Politically, absolutely politically. Everything, when the Earth's foundation shakes, doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on, whether you're serving light or whether you're serving fear and oppression and you're hungry to have power over and to serve yourself and your own egoic agenda. Everyone is going to be affected by these changes, these shifts. No one, Shakti, the earth, the great mother, and Shiva, the I am, our sun in manifested form, no one can and no one is outside of divine will. No one is outside of the divine orchestration. No force. And this is the ignorance of these beings, that they believe, or they're identified with a lie, that they're outside of divine will, divine orchestration. Not so. So this shakeup is incoming. We've already been feeling it now for quite some time. It's going to escalate in terms of how it manifests physically on Earth, because the shakeup is needed. Humanity is still really, really, really asleep. And we'll get to choose within the level of our consciousness how we respond to the shakeups. Whether we actually allow these shakeups to be sort of points of germination for a new way on Earth, or whether we relapse into more fear, more chaos, more doubt, the diminishing of faith. It's going to be up to individuals and collective consciousness to decide what this soul of humanity needs to experience at this time. But what we can do as light workers, star seeds, new earth architects, is hold the line to love, hold the highest vision. And it's even beyond a vision of what we hope will manifest materially, which is the Garden of Eden here. Once again, it is holding the line to divine will, God's will, presence of God within our hearts. This is the highest way we can be of service. That regardless of what structures crumble, regardless of what happens to the physical form, these bodies, the earth, that there is an untouchable dimension of our consciousness that is pristine, that is pure, that is innocent, that is light, that is always, 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 always impeccable and directly in communion with God. And it is our responsibility and our task now to hold and embody this connection within ourselves, to strengthen it within ourselves, so that we can be emanations of this frequency. Because we cannot stop potential chaos unfolding on Earth. We can't stop all of the fires, figuratively and literally, that are raging on Earth. All of these fires that are raging on Earth in every form. The many ways in which there's injustice and inhumanity playing out. This is beyond any one person's will to change. We know that these unfoldings are the result and consequence of energetic imbalance, gross power imbalance, gross forgetfulness, gross unconsciousness, severing from love. So when we go to the root level, we correct it at a root level. There is no point shouting, there's a fire there, when there are a billion other fires raging behind you. Which fire do you want to focus on putting out? Okay, I'm going to run around with my bucket of water, chucking water on all of these different fires. Well, are you actually addressing the reason why these fires are burning in the first place? This is an analogy that came to me a little while ago. You could say that what's happening on Earth is akin to many fires burning at once. Everyone has their divine role. Some people have the role to shout, fire, fire, there's fires burning. You need to look, there are fires burning. They're the activists, right? That's a very necessary role because they alert people to what's going on. Fantastic. There are some people that are there to put the fires out, okay? And they help to diminish the fires that are raging. And then there are some of us that are here to investigate, why are these fires burning in the first place? We're the investigators. We're the ones that go with a little clipboard and we're starting to see, well, what are the conditions? Why are these fires starting? So that we can be preventative. Say that 5 times fast. In the way in which we approach handling these fires. Every role is valid. You are no less worthy or valuable in your contribution if you're not one of the people shouting, fires, there's fucking fires everywhere. If your role as an architect is one to start really unpicking, what is the kind of root cause and the causative factors of these fires, these energetic fires, this energetic imbalance, the spiritual distortions that are playing out, the ways in which energetically we're not in congruence, the ways in which the union templates have been distorted, the ways in which love has been diminished and veiled from humanity. If you are here to work at that level, then don't shame yourself if you're not someone who's putting a fire out or shouting. Every role is valuable. Our task is to really listen deeply and ask God, what's my role? Use me for the highest and best good. Every single person has a unique set of skills, talents, gifts, abilities, competencies that they are uniquely designed for their soul role. And they will also have their own karmic process that they're working through, which may mean that they're in a different role to you because they're their own individuation. They're on their own soul journey. You're not here to emulate anyone else's soul path or journey. This is really a time now to get, we almost have to turn the mute button a little bit on when it comes to the opinions and the judgments of others outside of ourselves, and really tune in and say, God, you're my authority. I listen to you and to you alone. I listen to the light of my soul, and I allow you to inform me and my soul to know the path forwards. You are my authority. Allow me not to be swayed by judgments, by the need for validation, the need for approval, the need to people please, the need to bend and sway because I feel uncomfortable with power imbalance. Allow me to come into power, come into sovereignty, come into deep truth, and to enact my unique mission, dharma, purpose on this earth, and to move forward boldly and do that. Regardless of what people think of me, regardless of what people judge, regardless of what people project onto me, may your light and love be a shield for me so that I can do your will, Mother, Father, God. Use me as a conduit for the highest and best good. And let everyone else get on with their own unique role, mission, process at a soul level. Stay in your own lane at this point. We haven't got the time and the luxury of earth time to be, bending and waving and saying, oh, maybe I'll just, but they don't really like that. So maybe I'll just compromise this really important aspect within me because they don't like it. Fuck that. Enough. Seal yourself in a pillar of light. Strengthen your connection to the divine. Strengthen your connection to your heart. Deepen your roots into this earth. Open your crown to divine will, to divine wisdom, to divine guidance. Strengthen your central channel. Stay embodied. And do not waver on that which is deeply important to you, that burns within you at a soul level. Regardless of what the imperatives are, regardless of how normal or weird it looks, regardless of how much of a curveball it is to your family, to society, to your friendship groups, to your colleagues. This is a time now to really be focusing on the preciousness of your soul. That's what's at stake here. Your soul, and no one else has dominion over your soul. No one else is a steward of your soul. That's your job, to make sure that you are protector, guardian, and the egoic nature is here to honor the soul, to enact the soul's will, to enact what the soul blueprint contains in physical form. Remember who and what you serve. And that is love, truth, integrity, divine will, if you're on a genuine spiritual path. It is beyond your own egoic agenda, your own self-serving needs that are disconnected from the all. It's time now to really come into integrity and coherence within our being. I'm going to be speaking about this more in the next update, about the kind of individuated soul path and evolutionary process that's unfolding. Let me just tune in to see if that feels complete. If there's anything else that needs to be shared. We'll also be doing a power retrieval during the ascension call within the Integrated Awakening Collective. But if you want to, continue this process on your own, very simple process. Tune in, connect to the light of the soul, anchor yourself within the earth's grids, open the crown to divine will and guidance, establish your channel, and call back all fragmented, fractured, discarded, disassociated soul fragments, soul aspects back into this eternal here and now moment. Call all of these aspects back to you. It's time. Call your energy back from the people, places, environments that do not serve the person you are now and the highest template, the highest blueprint that you are here to embody. Don't bend or compromise the things that are important for you. If you're in environments where you're having to bend and compromise, diminish yourself, make yourself smaller, shrink, where you feel your truth is often, the truth of your being, your frequency is often rejected or shamed or condemned or in some way mistreated, judged severely. If these environments are not empowering you and encouraging you to become sovereign, encouraging you to speak your truth, to embody your truth, to grow with you, to learn with you, and people around you are only interested in their own agenda and maintaining their own levels of comfortability, you need to question whether or not those are the environments for you now. Come into coherence. Your soul is asking you to come into radical coherence and congruence now. Call your power back. Be loyal to your path. Know that when you are, you will be provided for in miraculous, non-linear, wild, mysterious ways. Okay, I think that's complete. This is a long one. So I'm sending you so much love. It's been a pleasure to be here with you today, and I'm so grateful for your presence here on YouTube with me in our cosmic family, our soul network, our soul community. May the light and love of the divine guide you forwards, protect you, inform you, carry you through these times. May the light and love of the divine be a shield for you, protecting you at a spiritual soul level. And may you know that you are not just this body, you are not just this mind, that you are also inherently divine, untouchable, impeccable, pure, innocent. And may you strive to embody those qualities and honor those qualities in every moment of every day. So much love to you, friends. Blessings and namaste.